It's weird the AI is on here now. It's kind of weird. Kind of weird. Okay, can you guys see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm logged in as a student. Some of you guys in the next couple of weeks are going to be rotating into different modalities. Okay, so when you come in to clock in, make sure that if you're going to a modality, I'm as a test student, so I don't have the full list. But have you noticed, like, when you click on this list, there's like Good Shepherd Cath Lab, Good Shepherd CT, Good Shepherd Trauma. Like, there's a list for each site, but it has like modalities listed. So just make sure whenever you're going to those modalities that you switch to that correct site. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say though, next week you're supposed to go to CT, but you clocked in a general rad. Don't clock out. Just send, it'll be me next week. Send myself or Miss Selman a message and just say, hey, I clocked into the wrong site. Can you fix it? We can easily go in and fix it. If you clock out, it kind of messes your time and makes it a little bit harder. So just send us a message and say, hey, I clocked into the wrong site, and we can go in and fix it. Okay. Clock out wise, you guys did really good on the GPS thing. There for a while, GPS was giving you guys a lot of trouble. But when you're clocking, I don't know why it just kicked me out. Whenever you're clocking in and out, Trajecsys says make sure that you have good signal, good Wi-Fi or cell service signal. And also don't do it too quickly. They say if you do it too quick, like when after the page loads, it won't get your GPS. So just kind of slow down a little bit and then just make sure that it says good accuracy. I've been trying to watch, and if you've been having trouble with GPS, I've been sending you messages. So, but I'll continue to watch, and we can kind of troubleshoot in that aspect. How do you guys feel about clocking in and out? You guys good on that part?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. Let's say you forgot to clock in one morning. So I'm like, hey, you forgot to clock in. To clock in, you just do a time exception. So here on the left-hand side, you're going to see the time exception option. So you would just click that. Here you would just say like forgot, and then you would have the date that it was, and then if it's a clock in or clock out, and here you just put your time. If you're going to be absent for that day, you would just simply check mark the absent, and then it logs it for the entire day, so you don't have to do it in and out. It just does it for the entire day. So you see down here where the time disappeared, all you have to do is hit submit. For instance, if you know I'm throwing up today or I have a fever today, I'm going to be absent tomorrow, you can go ahead and log your absence for the next day. You would just simply come down and hit that button to change the date here. Okay, so you can log your absence in advance. Okay. You really shouldn't finish early or anything like that. And then here, you can change your site that you're supposed to be in. So like if on Monday I'm supposed to be in CT, but I'm throwing up, I would just change it to CT here. Okay, any questions about that part?
No.
No.
Okay, you guys are making it easy, making it easy. I want to come back to these parts. I told you guys that you had to do a student information sheet for your site. To find that is an evaluation. I think most of you guys have done it, but I'm just going to show you just in case. You can just come down here and click. You're going to have to do this for every site that you go to. So after this 8 weeks, when you go to your new site, you're going to have to come in here and do a new information sheet, because your information sheet is only shared to the CI that you're assigned to. So they can't pull it from a different site. So each 8 weeks, you're going to come in here and do your student information sheet. You're just going to click here. You're going to tell it whatever site you're at, your start and end dates. 3rd July. I think your guys' semester goes to the 25th. Or your address. I gotta move your Gotta move you guys over here. So pull that down. So pretty self-explanatory. You don't have to put place of employment. That doesn't really affect us. Yeah, there we go. In case of emergency, you want to have someone here, for instance, like something happens while you're on a clinical site, and then you get in touch with someone, this is where they're going to pull that number from. I want to say Mama Mary. My mom's not Mary, but I'm going to say Mama Mary. And then you're just going to put like their phone number. So this part's pretty self-explanatory. Let's see, peanuts. Let's say for instance, you were filling this form out and you got a phone call, so you need to finish this later. If you click this button down here, it'll save it. Now it doesn't submit it, but it will save it. So when you come back in, you don't have to go type in what you've already typed. It'll just pull it back up and you can finish it. So whenever you're done, you're just going to hit submit. And it's going to say saved. Now, if I would have hit that save button, this is where it's going to show up. Okay, so save for later. I'll just click it, and then you see like where some of the stuff is filled in. But I didn't get all this done, so then I can fix it and then submit it. Okay, I think that one's pretty easy. The next thing was for your CIs to fill out the clinical orientation outcomes, and then there was a check sheet, I believe. To find that, if you go to the reports, and then you're going to go to evaluation, completed evaluation forms. This is where it's going to show up, and you're just going to select that form. I don't know if I did it, so let me hop over here real quick. I can fill one out so you guys can see what it looks like.
I'm outside.
Everyone's met their CIs at their site, right?
Yes.
I know, oh, my battery, hold on. Oh. Must have kicked it off when I got in the chair. I thought someone was on vacation. Maybe they were on vacation in the middle of the week.
Mine's going on vacation next week, so I'm rotating to CT.
Okay. So that worked out perfect.
Yep.
And I expect they do like that alternating matrix. I think they still do it. So like 1 week your CI will be there or something, I forget, or they switch days, I forget. But with you going 4 days a week, you shouldn't have a problem like they did in the past. Of you not seeing them. Okay. Might be. Is that the form I filled out? So this is something that your CI will do, this part here, so don't freak out over this one. This one's not for a grade, but you have to acknowledge that you reviewed it. I was telling Trajecsys that their test side isn't very efficient. I don't think they agreed with me though. But this is how you'd find it though. So it would show down here on the list. Has everyone been able to find their evaluations?
Yes.
Okay, anyone not?
Miss Sockbon, on my practicum orientation checklist, I can see it and I can view it, but there's no option for me to sign.
Yes, you and I were talking about that.
Yes, ma'am.
I haven't had a chance to look. Has anyone else been able to sign their checklist?
Yes.
I-
It was on the
I
comments.
mine.
Okay, so it is possible. Okay. So, Liz, you and I, we might have to stay on after this and maybe you can share your screen so that we can kind of look at it,
Okay.
see if we can get it. I don't know why. It's saying because there's no evaluator, but I mean, I filled it out. Let me come on this side. See. So we're just gonna pretend it says outcomes, but your form should show up right here, and then you would have a view button. You would click that, and at the very bottom, there'll be a student signature. I don't want to pull this up because this is real data, which I don't know why it's showing up on the side. But let me go back to the student side real quick. Okay, so to sign those two forms, and to sign your monthly evaluation, you're just gonna come in here to completed evaluations and forms. Okay, and then you can kind of toggle down of which one it is. When you go to those modalities, there will be an outcomes form that you have to sign for each one. And there is a specialty rotation, okay? So for any modality that you go to each week, there's gonna be an outcome form and then the specialty rotation evaluation form, okay? So those are two things you're gonna have to come in here and sign. And then each month you'll come in here and you will sign your monthly evaluation. Okay. Oh, there we go. There's the monthly evaluation. So to sign any of those, you're just going to hit view. You're going to review what your CI said. So for your monthly evaluation, it's on a scale of 1 to 3. 3 is the best. So 3 is above average, 2 is average, 1 is below average. I don't expect you to be above average as a first year student the very first month. So I foresee you guys having 2s. You'll have some 3s, but don't expect that you're gonna have mostly 3s because, as like I said, you're just starting out. But some sites they grade everyone with 100, so we're kind of used to that. So you're gonna come down here. The CI will put their comments right here. You're gonna review it, and then all you have to do is hit add comment, and then you would just write your name. It automatically adds a time stamp to it. Okay, so you can see here where it adds the date and time. So all you have to do when you hit add comment is just put your name. Okay, we good on that?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Now, let's talk if you need to send us an email. There's a send email button, but you guys are just easier to use Remind for that. Your logbook. Let's look at your logbook. Up here,
Bathroom.
it defaults to the date and it defaults to the site you're at. Now, for instance, like Kevin, you said you're going to CT next week. You're in CT, so this is going to come up Pittsburgh CT. Amy comes across and says, hey, Kevin, there's a skull here. Do you want to comp on it? So whenever you're doing your log, you can click this and change it back to general rad to put your logbook in. That way it gives Amy access back to you to enter that comp, okay? If you leave it in CT, Amy will not be able to add that comp because it won't show up. Only the the CTCI can enter it. Okay, so that's something that you just want to kind of keep in mind, is that if you are in a modality, you get pulled back to do something, you just want to change your site whenever you enter that exam. Okay, but this should default to whatever you clocked in as. Okay, for each log that you do, here you're gonna put the number of images. So let's say we did a chest x-ray, we did 2, we had 0 repeats, and Ronald McDonald did it with me. If your technologist is not listed here, you would just hit the new, okay, and then you can add them to the system. Some techs go by a nickname and not their true name or full name that they're registered as with the ART. So you want to make sure that you are using their correct name. Okay. The email really doesn't matter here. Just the first name and last name is all that you need. Like I said, sometimes people will put in the person's nickname that they go by. I think there's a lady at regional. Like her real name's Leslie, but she goes by something else. So just make sure you know what their real name is. But you can come in here and you can edit their information. Okay, so we did a chest x-ray, 2 images, 0 repeats. I'm just gonna hit add log sheet. This is the major category that you'll pick from, okay? Now, whenever you click on this particular category, it only pulls up certain exams from that category. What I want you guys to realize, Esther and I were kind of talking about the other day. I'm just gonna pull up this clinical manual. Oh, actually, here. Your signature sheet, like if you ever have a question, which major category? How do you know which major category it is? On your signature sheet, it should have the categories listed above it. The one that you guys kind of always have a hard time with is myelogram. Like you would think that should be logged under fluoro because you do it in fluoro. But that one's actually under spine. So I just want to kind of show you. And there's a lot of pages. And we'll come back to this sheet. Okay. This is what I was talking about. So you see here, like this gray area, this is upper extremities. So on the major, let's go back here. McDonald. So here is your major study. Anything that is under this upper extremity tab will show up in that category. So use these gray areas to know which major study you select by whatever exam you have, okay? So it should be for the entire sheet that she has it. So here's the lower extremity. So anything below that gray area will be considered a lower extremity. And then chest, and so on. So let's go back here real quick. So we said we did a chest x-ray. So that's going to be on chest abdomen. We're going to pick chest PA and lat. Okay. There is always this button here, ready to comp. You only click this whenever you have already performed the competency for that exam. So any other time you do not click it unless you want it to be a comp or a proficiency. Observed, you just kind of stood back. You never even touched the patient. That's when you log it as observed. Assisted, you kind of help, but you didn't really do a lot of the exam. You just might have went and changed out the IR for the tech, or you might have helped the patient up onto the table, but the technologist did the majority of the exam. Performed is when you do most of the exam or all of the exam. I know sometimes techs are gonna help you a little bit, or especially like during portables, they're gonna help you lift the patient up, they're gonna help you place the board. But as long as you tag team it, like it's equal help, and you go back and exposure, you do the tube, that would still be performed. And then here's the comp and proficient. So I'm gonna say that I performed. I had 0 repeats, so it's gonna be without repeat reason. This menu that pops up here, this is how long it took you to do the exam, how many minutes, okay? Not the time that you did it, it's what was the duration of that exam. So it took me 5 minutes to do that exam. So I'm just gonna hit next. Here in the comments is where I'm gonna put, I did this at 9 o'clock in the morning, okay? That's all I have to put here. I don't have to put history of COPD. We don't need all the history. We just need to keep it clean and simple, just the time for this one. And then you're just gonna hit next, and then here it pops down here. Now, for instance, you accidentally put the wrong Ronald, and it should have been a different Ronald. You can just come in here and edit your logbook. You're just gonna hit the little icon with the pencil here and hit edit, and then you click what part of this do you want to change, okay? For instance, if you accidentally put it in twice, of course, you're just gonna hit the delete button, okay? Now, let's say that I did a chest x-ray that had a repeat. So I did a total of 3 images, one of them being a repeated image. So for the number of images, it's going to be 3. So it's going to be your overall total of how many times did you hit the button. And at this point, this is where you put how many of the 3 were the repeated image. I'm just going to put 1. Okay. I'm going to say that Ronald McDonald did it with me again. Add log sheet, chest pain lat. I performed it. Now this time I want to hit with repeat reason, because it's going to come up with options of what you should tag it under. Because every month you have to do a repeat analysis, and you have to tell me, okay, I had 50 repeats, which we're never gonna have 50. I had 50 repeats. 10 of them were artifacts, 10 were centering, 3 were patient motion. So you're gonna have to divide these into categories. So it just makes things a lot easier if you just go ahead and tag which reason it was. You can comment down here if it doesn't kind of fit in one of these boxes, but try to make it fit in one of these boxes. So I'm going to say it was artifact, I left a brawl or something. So we're going to hit next. It took me 5 minutes. And then here, we're going to say we did it at 9:30. I don't have to put anything else here because I already told you why I did my repeat. Okay. And then next, and then you'll see now here, it tells me right here, artifacts. Okay. So a lot of information is already pre-filled for you. Okay. And real quick, I sent the remind message about this part. If you do an AP chest in the room with the x-ray tube, that's an AP chest wheelchair stretcher. Okay. If you use the portable machine in any aspect or any capacity, it's always going to be logged under mobile. Okay. So why don't I go back and click mobile surgical? Okay. So portable chest, portable abdomen, portable upper or lower extremity. You go to the recovery room, they need post-op images of a hip x-ray. So that would be logged under portable upper or lower extremity. And then here it tells you in the comments, say what the exam was. Okay. So we're just going to hit that. We're going to hit performed. So for this one, let's see, I did it at 1400 and there was a knee. So that's all you have to put, just the time and then what the exam was. And then you can kind of see it there. Okay. A patient comes in, they're ordered for a foot, ankle, tib, fib. Okay. It's the same patient, but you did 3 different exams. You can comp on 3 different exams for that particular patient. Okay, so that's why we have you log them separately, so you can get those different comps. So let's see, lower extremity. Here's foot. Performed it. It's recognizing that I've already logged a foot. So say, hey, are you ready to comp on this? I'm just gonna go ahead and hit yes. I'm gonna say it's a clinical comp. And then here you're gonna put who your CI is. You can never do a comp with a repeat. So if you try to comp something and it had a repeat, you cannot count it as a comp. You should log it as a performed. I'm gonna say without repeat, just took me 5 minutes. I did this at 3 o'clock, which is 1500. Next. Now, when you're logging the other 2 exams, you cannot put the same time, okay? So let's see, I did ankle, performed, repeat reason, 5 minutes. So I'm just gonna put like 15:05. So just kind of keep your times very similar, like close together, just not at the same time. And then we'll do the last one. What did I say, tib fib? What's the other one? Sure. Gotta do that. Now, 5 minutes. So you can see that all 3 exams are here, 3 o'clock, 3:05, and 3:10. Okay. A question I had was our knee protocol, we do a sunrise view. Can I comp that as a knee and a patella? But it was only ordered as like a right knee. You cannot get a knee and a patella comp on that one patient on that one knee. Okay, so if they were for bilateral, you do one knee comp on the left and you can do a patella comp on the right. But you cannot get a comp on the exact same body part that you do the exact same images for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Miss Akman, I have
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
And whenever we're comping, we have to perform one before we comp.
Everything
Is that right?
Yes, except the rare exam list that I sent out. So if it's on that rare exam list, you can go ahead and comp it straight from the go. You don't have to perform one first if it's on the rare list. Everything else, yes, you have to perform at least once and then you can comp.
Okay.
Okay. A question came up was, let's say, a femur comes in, okay? You perform it, you had a repeat, and that was the only femur that you've ever done or performed, but you had a repeat. On the next one, am I allowed to comp? Yes, you are allowed to comp. There's no rule saying that you have to do a perfectly performed before I can comp on it. Now, would I suggest that you do get another performed and have it perfect before you comp on it? Yes. Because by you saying, I want to comp, that means that you are confident that you can do this exam by yourself with no help, no matter what patient comes in, okay? So you're telling the tech, like, after this, like, I'm good. You don't need to come in here and stand next to me. So I don't want you guys to, like, rush to get your comps. Like, whenever you feel comfortable that you can do this on your own without asking questions on a routine basis, that's when you want to ask for your comp. Now, sometimes you're gonna have patients that come in that you're gonna need help with. Okay, so that's okay, but you don't want to comp on it, but then the next 5 C-spines that come in, you have to go and ask for help all 5 of those. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind whenever you're asking for your comps. You're saying, hey, I can do this on my own after this. Okay. Trying to think what else issues I saw on the logbooks.
I've got a question.
Yep.
On Pittsburgh doesn't have cell signal
Mhm.
if you're on Verizon. So I should have written down my questions and then, asked them on lunch break. But anyway,
Yeah.
so we perform one and then we're ready to comp, but we can't do proficiencies until July, correct?
July 1st, yes.
Okay. So on the checkoff sheets, the very first one up by the title of the exam, like say knee, that's going to be our comp. And then the rest of those blocks underneath that category are all going to be proficiencies.
Correct. So
Okay.
this very first line where it says comp, that's where your comp info is going to go. Anything below that, the numbers are proficiencies. Okay, so you're not writing anything that's performed. You're
Right,
only, on
right.
this paper is only comps and only proficiencies. So the comp line will always say comp. Anything with a number is proficiencies.
Okay. I guess my next question is, since I had my comp and proficiency backwards, because I'm just kind of confused.
Mhm.
I've been shooting knees, shoulders, ankles, and hands all week. And it kept asking me, "Hey, do you want a comp or whatever?" Blah blah blah. And I'm putting no because I had my comp and proficiency messed up, and I put 0 on everything when I logged it. So I've got to go back and change it anyway. Can I go back and do the log on something like, say, I did on Wednesday, because I'd shot, close to 2 dozen shoulders over the week, or do I have to wait till next week? You see what I'm saying?
Yes, no, as long as you have the information now, you can go ahead and edit your stuff
Okay.
or
Okay.
add stuff.
Excellent.
Now, for instance, like if you need to go back and add something from like yesterday that you forgot, or we'll say, you just need to go here first, change your date to be the 5th,
Right. Right.
and then log it. So we'll just do one just so you can see where it adds it. Cause it adds it, there's like a little thing that shows up. I'll show you here. Let me just do lower extremity and I'll do ankle. Repeat. Okay. So here on the 5th, it's showing that I did this ankle.
Hmm.
If I go to the 7th, then the other ones appear. Now, in your reports, you can see this summary. Like if you need to go back and check, like, oh, what did I log for the past week? You can come in here and see everything. Okay. Now, do you see like this red arrow here?
Right. Right.
Just saying, hey, on the 7th, I went in and added this one for the 5th. Okay, so it's going to tag it that you re-entered it or entered it late, but it's okay. I'd rather you get it in than not put it in at all. Okay, so
Okay.
you're not going to get in trouble if I go and see this red arrow. Okay, so but it will tag. It will tag it if you go back and edit it or have to add it later. So don't freak out if you see this red arrow. It's just saying, hey, on the 7th, they added a log for the 5th.
Okay.
Okay. And then here you can see like what level you performed everything at. And then like the ones we did comp, here we'll say comp. Okay. So you can kind of easily see when the comps were.
Okay. And my last question is, we had a guy that was barely 6 feet tall, not a smoker, not an athlete, not anything, and he had lungs that were so long it shocked Amy.
Yeah.
So we had to get a second one because we couldn't get the cost for it. I mean, not even close.
Right.
And even when we brought the IR down like several inches, we barely got him. And she said, "Don't." She said, "Put that as a total of 3 images." But she said it doesn't count as a repeat because even a licensed tech would have to shoot 2, and they'd be stitched together by the computer, just because you're not going to get them on one IR.
Yes.
So
So if
repeat reason would be no.
right, if it is not physically possible for them to fit on one image, you're correct. It would be 0 repeats. And then
Okay.
if you want in the comment, just put long lungs. Another
Okay.
very common one is if a patient has like a rod in their leg and you have to do like a knee x-ray. And if they see a rod, but you cut off the bottom of the rod, but you centered perfectly to the knee that you were supposed to, but the rod was a little bit longer, you have to do a second image because you have to get the rod in its entirety. So that would be like a no repeat. If you have to get additional information, but it would never have fit. Okay, now if it would have fit and you just centered, like there was this much above the shoulders and it could have fit, then yes, it's a repeat. But if there was no physical way that it would have fit on one, you're correct, 0 repeats.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions about logs?
On the logs, once you've added them on time within 24 hours. But if you go back, like yesterday, if I go back and edit something, is that considered late?
No. So we want you to log them within 24 hours, especially like right now, like you guys are beginning, you guys are figuring out. So when you log in every 24 hours, I can go in there and see it and we can fix the problem before we get in 3 weeks in and we can't go fix it, okay? Now,
Okay.
when we come to visit you, when Miss Green, because you're gonna see her the most, okay, when she comes to visit you, she's gonna pull up your log sheets. And if she pulls it up and at that point your logs are not there, you're gonna get docked points, okay? So that's why you should always prepare for us to show up to check your logbook. Now, if you had to go back and add one, that's perfectly fine. But as long as they're in there when she shows up to do her clinical visit, then you're good. Okay, so that's the only time that points come off for your logs being late. But you just don't, you never know when we're gonna show up. So you, like I said, you always wanna prepare for us to be there the very next day,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Any other questions about logs?
No, ma'am.
No, okay.
No, ma'am.
Now, some of these logs that we did were comps, okay? Each site wants things done differently of how you tell the CIs to enter your comps, okay? Some sites will say, hey, make a copy of your signature sheet, highlight the ones that I need to enter and give it to me each Friday or Thursday. And then that's how they want to be known. Some people want you to write it down on a piece of paper, what to enter. So it's all up to your site. I can't tell you for sure what your CI wants. That's some conversation that you need to have with your CI, okay? But it is your responsibility to make sure that the comps get entered, okay? So there's some instances like with the second years right now, like where their comps were never entered from 3 months ago. So there's no record that they ever did it. So now they're going to have to redo it, okay? So you want to make sure you don't want to get in that predicament where it was never entered and now you have to go redo it. Okay, so I would use this paper in the clinical manual, which I think she told you to print off as well. Not too far. This one, okay. So let's say Kevin did a finger comp, okay, he did it on a real patient, so we normally put a P. You don't have to fill out all of these boxes, but we put a P. Oh, come on. Come on. And we know what page that was? Oh, too far. Okay, we're gonna change it. We're gonna do an ankle because it's right here. Okay. So Kevin, you did an ankle, 6'5", you did it at 1500. Okay, so this is just kind of like a double check for you of knowing, okay, was it put in Trajecsys as a comp or proficiency? Should be a comp, okay? And it was entered. So whenever they enter it, you just like want to put like a little check mark. I don't have a check mark on my thing. I'm just gonna put that. Okay. Okay. My CI's entered it in Trajecsys. I went in and I signed my comp. So I'm gonna put a check mark. Yes, I confirmed it's in my logbook. Yes, I confirm it's on my signature sheet. Yes, the tech signed it. This validated column is whenever here, like at the faculty at KC will validate, and I'll show you what that means here in a second. So then you can put the check mark, okay? So this is just for you to double check. Yes, my CI's put it in. I've signed it. It's in my logbook that everything is complete for that exam. Do you have to use this paper? Absolutely not. But you just need to make sure that you're keeping track of what's been entered and what's not. And I'll show you another way too. On Trajecsys, if you go to reports, and then if you go to skill summary, anything that's been entered will be here in this list. Okay. So for instance, here's the chest x-ray comp that I did. I'll click on it. It opens it up for me here. And then everything looks good. I can go ahead and just click on this little box and sign it. Oh, sorry, this one already has 2 comments. Of course, I would pick the one that has 2 comments. So this is a quick way for you to get to the comps that you need to sign. Try this one. That one already has 2. Third time's a charm, right? Third time's a charm. let's get down. Here we go. Now, when the CI puts in your comp, you want to make sure that this date matches your signature sheet and your logbook, the time matches, and the tech matches. If any of these three things either are not there or do not match, you can send a message to the faculty at KC. We can go in and edit it. Okay, your CIs have no power to go in here and edit it. They would have to do a whole new one. So just simply send us a message like, hey, Miss Amy put a comp in for me, but the date's wrong. It needs to be 6/6, okay? And we can go in and edit it for you, okay? So if this is all correct, this is where you're just gonna hit the student signature and then type your name. Okay. Same thing as those other forms, it timestamps it down here for you, okay? So each week you want to make sure that you're making sure your comps are getting put in, you're going in and signing them. Another place that you can find these comps other than going to the skill summary is if you come down here to the comment tab. It kind of like Venmo, like whenever someone pays someone, like there's an active feed of what's going on. So anything that's been done in Trajecsys, this is where it's going to show up. Okay. So you can see that I just went in here and I signed this. Okay. So it's like a little activity log of what's been going on. Now, there's no comp. But for instance, like if there was a comp or, hey, I need to go in here and sign my monthly eval, I can see that the coordinator put this in. It's a monthly eval. Okay, I need to go in and sign it. All you have to do is hit view and it'll pull it up. Same thing can come down and you can sign it. Okay, so that's another way that you can quickly get to everything. Now let's say like you're all caught up to date, you've signed everything, so you want to clear your activity feed. If you just hit mark as read, it clears it out. Okay, so the next time you come in, like, okay, oh, here's 5 comps that were entered. Here, let me quickly just hit view and sign them. So that's another way. So you can either go to the comments and find it like in the activity log, or come to reports and hit skill summary, and then just find the date and click on it, okay? Sometimes when the CI puts it in, so for instance, I gave my paper to the CI yesterday, so I just entered them in today, but I did the comp on the 1st. A lot of CIs forget to change the date to the 1st and I put it as a 7th, so this date may be a little off. So whenever you look at it, don't go by just this date. Click into it if it's close to what the date is, and then check this information here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. You see the screen ready to comp? Okay. So that's like in your logbook. Whenever it says, are you ready to comp? And you hit yes, it puts this little tag, ready to comp. Okay. Technically, your CIs can come in and I think I'm still at the CI in here. I can come in here and I can click on uncompleted comp exams and it's just going to show me, but they can filter it. If they have multiple students, they can filter it to whoever student they're looking for. All they have to do, and you can remind the CIs this too, because sometimes I think they forget. So for instance, if I'm going to check off on a chest, PA, and lat, all they have to do is hit this little arrow. So they find it here. They hit this little arrow. It pre-fills in everything for them. Okay. So they don't have to come in here and manually pick the site, pick the student. Okay. And then they just hit next. And then all they have to do is put in the date and the time. And then name of technologist.
Miss Alcorn, when that pulls up on my Trajecsys, I put no, but when I'm ready for a comp, I let my CI know that I'm ready for a comp.
You have to hit ready for comp if you're comped on it because it's going to tag it in your logbook as a comp. If you hit no, then whenever we go to review it, like to check, hey, is it in Trajecsys? It's not going to be accurate. because we run logs, and that's how you get it to show up on, let me go back to the student side. If you hit no, it'll never show up on this side until they enter the comp. So
Okay,
you'll
so,
wanna go back and edit any comps that you did, that
mhm.
show, to your log, oh, I guess you could go to, your log, your daily log sheets. And then, find whichever one it is. Oh, did I do one of the ones? Find whichever one it is, hit the little pencil, and then, participation level. And then you just hit comp here. Okay, and then it'll change it. Okay.
Okay. I know I've been doing that, but I guess whenever I'm adding stuff to Trajecsys, if it tells me if I'm ready for a comp, I'll go ahead and start putting yes.
Yes, only if you're actively comping on that particular one. Any
Okay.
other time it's performed.
Okay.
So you should only have one exam tag, like for chess, you did your PA and Lat, you should only ever have one chess PA and Lat comp in your logbook. Everything else would be one of the other tags.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. How do I remove a comp? I know my first day I comped and I messed up on my sheet. Miss Odin said I had to redo the whole thing. My tech, she's a PRN that day. So I redid another comp. How do I just mark it off as comped on Monday?
So on your sheet, wherever. So wherever they signed it, so we're gonna say it was this one, you're just gonna take like your pen and then just draw a single line through it. Okay, and then you'll initial it, and then it's gonna be hard because she's a PRN tech. Normally you should have the tech initial it as well, okay? But as long as your initial's on there, okay? And then what we recommend you doing is then taking your pen and drawing a line
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the bottom. Because there should be a space. So right here, you'll just put finger, and then you'll just have the date, time, and sign it down here outside of the chart.
Okay. Honestly, I printed that thing out and I restarted the whole thing again. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are pretty new, like, so you don't have like full sheets yet. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fine to restart a whole sheet. Now, when you
Okay.
start having like 10 and 15 comps on a paper, you're not gonna want to get all those
Right.
signatures in. So if that happens at that point, yeah, just cross it out one line and then just draw an arrow down and then just write what it is down here.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, let's see, time totals. So this is for you. You can see exactly what time you clocked in and out of for the day. You can see here if your location was on or not. I get a lot of messages like, hey, did my location record? Which I can go and look, which is totally fine. But if you want to know on your own, you just go into the time totals, and then it's in this location. So if it worked, it's going to have these numbers here. If it has something like this, that means that you denied it. So I know, like, well, it popped up and said, do you want to record your location? And the student hit no. Okay, so I can tell when you hit no and when you don't. Okay, so that's something to kind of look forward whenever you're on your time. Should be like your CI. Okay, now if you look at this and like they haven't approved your time for 2 weeks, which at that point I would have already said something like, hey, remind your CI to approve your time. This is how you can tell if it's approved or not. If there's no name, it's not approved. Okay. Sometimes you'll see us come in. You can't see it on the side, but there's like a little button that I can hit. So for instance, you clocked into the raw modality and I changed it. I may put a comment like clocked into the raw modality, because you can see here, like it flags it. Like if something was changed, it flags it. Okay, so we may put a comment here just so we know why is it red. Okay, but this is something that you guys can look at to see your in and outs. You can check like your tardies, you can check how many days have you been absent. So that's all here. So whenever you're doing your time exceptions, that's where this kind of comes into play. So like, for instance, if you're absent, I said it tags it for the whole day. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to say 0, 0, and it's going to say absent. So it's going to put that there for you automatically. Okay. Any questions about your time?
No,
Um, repeat reasons, I said at every month, I think it's on the 5th of every month, it's when it's due in Blackboard. You can run a report, or you can just click this repeat reason, and it's gonna tell you how many, like from this date, from January to June, how many repeats did you have, okay? I don't really like this one because I can't really easily count how many. Like, I don't want to sit here and have to count like 2, 3. Okay, here's 3 more, that's 6. I don't want to have to manually count it. So in your Blackboard course, there's a video that I made of showing you how to export it in Excel. Okay. So I think we went through all that. Did our logs. If you need your clinical manual, it's in the Blackboard course too, but it is here. Here's your irregularity form. So for instance, your GPS didn't take, or you forgot to clock out, you'd have to fill this out. You upload it into your Blackboard course. And this is what your repeat analysis form looks like. It's in Blackboard too. So you were just going to put your name, the time. So it'd be like June 1st to June 30th. And then this is where you're going to use tally marks of how many is in each category. And then it's going to say, okay, how many images did you make the entire time? How many of that was repeats? And then it's going to tell you to divide this number here by this number to get a percentage. And then down below, you can kind of explain why did you have repeats and how can you prevent them. Okay, so that's what the repeat form looks like. Trying to think what else. What other questions do you guys have? Does it make more sense now?
totally.
Okay,
It
good.
does. I
Okay.
was so
Yeah, I was like, oh my goodness, this is kind of crazy. Oh, and I think sometimes too, like if you have an evaluation, I think sometimes it pops up here. At least it was like when I don't know if I was on the student side or on the other side. I'm gonna stop my share. I'm gonna stop recording for a second.